But comparing that guy's mental state, I've said it for years now, he's cogent. But I undersold him when I said he was cogent. He's far beyond cogent. In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been. Intellectually, analytically, because he's been around for 50 years. And, you know, I don't know if people know this or not, Biden used to be a hothead. Sometimes that Irishman would get in front of the reasoning. Sometimes he would say things he didn't want to say. This is, and I don't really, you know what, I don't really care. Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever. Not a close second. And I've known him for years. The Brzezinskis have known him for 50 years. If it weren't the truth, I wouldn't say it. And you...
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We got to talk about probably one of the most pathetic copium sessions that I have ever heard on MSNBC when it comes to Joe Biden and the fact that he was mentally declining. The mainstream liberal media, led by Joe Scarborough, were saying, no. If you do not believe that Joe Biden is the sharpest that he's ever been, then F you. Okay, they were insistent that the reports about Joe Biden mentally declining, the videos of him mentally declining, getting lost in the sauce, not knowing where he's at, talking about speaking and meeting with dead people, not remembering dates and times and events correctly, all of that was a right-wing conspiracy theory, okay? It was a cheap fake, and you shouldn't believe it, right? And they smeared anybody who was telling the truth about the mental deterioration of Joe Biden. Now, we know that the so-called right-wing conspiracies were, in fact, true about Joe Biden. And instead of just admitting that, hey, we were wrong, no. They're basically saying that, no, we were right, okay? And at the time, we thought that Joe Biden was A-okay, right? That Joe Biden was as sharp as ever. This is essentially the argument that Joe Scarborough is going to make as they cope over the fact that Joe Biden's legacy is going to go down as probably the worst president of the 21st century and one of the worst presidents in American history. So without further ado, let's get into it.
The Greek tragedy is, of course, the hero brings his own downfall, is a flawed hero, and was undoubtedly a very good president until he wasn't. And where I think he wasn't was in failing to step down. We had a number of journalists, but not enough. David Ignatius most prominently blowing the whistle on Biden's waning powers and on the fact that public opinion was indicating 2 years before the 2024 election that it was skeptical of whether he could serve another term. David Ignatius blew the whistle on that. Ezra Klein did. They were very much sort of censored and ostracized for saying what everybody in this town knew, which was that Biden was being shielded from unscripted encounters with the public, with the media, and was having a shorter and shorter day as president. In other words, that he wasn't fit to run again in 2024.
Yeah, so again, what this individual is admitting, that everybody in D.C. knew that Biden was mentally declining, but yet all of these individuals went on national television and told their audiences that, oh, no, you shouldn't believe that. That is a right-wing conspiracy theory. That is Fox News, Newsmax talking points. Don't believe it. But they knew. They all knew behind closed doors. Now, what I also find to be fascinating about this individual and the cope that is happening in the mainstream liberal media as they come to grips with the reality that Joe Biden is going to go down as one of the worst presidents in American history. Again, certainly the worst president of the 21st century, or at least I'm praying that there's not a worse president than Joe Biden over the next 75 years. They continue to say that, well, Joe Biden was a great president until he wasn't. Okay, and the reason why he wasn't a great president, it's not because of his policies, which has led to historic inflation that we haven't seen in 30 to 40 years, and an open borders crisis in which you have illegal immigrants coming into this country, and they're committing crimes at an unprecedented level. You also have so much public funds going towards taking care of these illegal immigrants. No, it's not any of that, right? It's not the actual results. It's just simply because he didn't step down soon enough to allow a Democrat to replace him and to beat Trump, right? That is how they're trying to write Joe Biden's legacy, right? That's the story that they're trying to tell, which is not that, hey, Joe Biden failed because his policies were bad, that Democrat policies are bad. No, it's not that. It's simply because he failed to step down early enough and to acknowledge that he's too old, that the people want him out because of his age, not because of the fact that his policies were bad. But that's not true. The reality is that the American people would not have focused on Biden's age if his policies were good. If we didn't have this historic inflation, and if the border wasn't out of control, if it wasn't clear that Democrats can't govern, then Joe Biden probably would have had a much better chance of winning, okay? But because it was clear that Democrats can't govern and that the results of his policies, of his administration, have been terrible for the American people, this is why his approval rating has tanked, okay? Biden is going to finish his term with a worse approval rating than Trump had after January 6th, okay? In which that was the lowest point in Trump's presidency, okay? After January 6th, Biden is going to finish lower than that because his administration was that bad, okay? So again, it's just funny to listen to how they're trying to talk about Joe Biden's legacy and why is it that he had to step down. He had to step down because his policies were bad, on top of the fact that it is clear that he does not have the mental capacity to continue to govern. But had his policies been good and the American people approved of his policies, if the results had been good, then it would not have been that big of a deal. I think people would have tolerated Biden's mental decline because they're like, okay, well, hey, at the very least, the country's in a good place. But obviously, that's not what happened.
And that didn't come through till the debate last June. It really left it too late for an open primary. It made it very difficult for Kamala Harris to launch a credible winning campaign against Donald Trump. And I think that, therefore, history, being brutal, is going to remember Biden not just as a bridge away from Trump in 2020, but as a bridge back to Trump in 2024. That's the tragedy of this. He was and has been a very good president. But history will remember him chiefly for being the bridge back to Trump. And I take absolutely no pleasure in saying that.
Let me press you on a few things here, Ed. You said that David Ignatius said something that everybody in Washington knew. I must say, there are many of us who know Joe Biden fairly well. I'm sitting next to one of them. I'm sure Mike Barnicle will have a question for you as well. Mike Barnicle, his chief complaints early on, quietly to me and others, was that they were not letting Joe Biden out enough. Mike talks to President Biden and has regularly throughout the year. I spent, as I've said before, 2.5, 3 hours with Joe Biden in the White House, all over the White House, talking at length and in depth about foreign policy matters, and he was as sharp as anybody else I've spoken to, and spoke actually like a man who's been doing this since he was 29 years old, and knew world leaders. Was he slower physically? Yes. Did he occasionally jumble a few words or a few names? Yes. But he corrected those as well. So after 2.5, 3 hours of it with him in the White House, going all over the White House, I did not see that. I spoke with French leaders.
Wow. You didn't see it. You didn't see it, Joe Scarborough. So again, I want you guys to understand what this dude is admitting. He's essentially admitting that his judgment is bad, right? That's what he's admitting. Hey, I spent so much time with Joe Biden. I didn't see him mentally declining, but yet the American people did. So Joe Scarborough's judgment is worse than the average person. His judgment is worse than the average person on the street. And then these people wonder, why is it that random YouTubers are beating them in ratings, right? Why is it that alternative media is doing much better than the mainstream media? Why is it that people are turning to the internet, okay, and non-traditional sources of news in order to get political commentary and insights. It's because of statements like this. Instead of just coming out and admitting, I was wrong, I got it wrong. Nah, bro. Joe Biden is as sharp as ever, and I still believe that. Even though it's clear that you're wrong. You're wrong. But instead of just admitting that, hey, I'm wrong, or yet you lied, right? It's probably most likely what it was. Joe Scarborough lied, and he can't come out here and admit that he lied. So he doubles down and basically says, well, hey, I still believe that he was sharp as ever. I didn't see it. So again, if you didn't see it, why is it, should people listen to you? How are you a credible person to listen to if you didn't see what everybody else saw? I really don't understand. How is it that these people who have scripts, by the way, right? They prepare for these shows. They know exactly what they're going to talk about. They know exactly what they're going to say. Who in the world thought that this would be a good idea, right? For Joe Scarborough to go on national television and to double and triple down on Joe Biden being as sharp as ever, right? I just didn't see it. I didn't see him declining. Wow.
After they had some pretty tough negotiations with him a couple of years ago. They left that meeting surprised how sharp he was, and how they had listened to press reports saying that he had lost 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. They were surprised by the fact that actually he was pressing Macron on every single issue. I've spoken to leaders in the Middle East. I mean, I could go on and on about this. I heard also at the same time that he would be at fundraisers at night, and he would be wandering in his statements, even reading from a teleprompter. I don't know that it's quite so easy that everybody in Washington, D.C. thought the man was ill-equipped to be president of the United States. I know that's what they say on social media, but that certainly wasn't my experience. I would guess Mike Barnicle will tell you the same thing as well as Mika.
Maybe, but I mean, foreign leaders and foreign governments told me very different things to what you just said. I think that people, who are getting older and have waning energy and vitality can go in and out. They can have strong moments, they can have weak moments. I think, though, that the key thing here was that the debate last June occurred several days after Biden had been traveling, and wasn't considered to be shocking by a lot of the people I know, in various circles around the White House, that was the performance that reflected Biden's mental powers at the time. So I think the American public had it right.
I'm sorry. Wait. I've got to interrupt you again. And again, Ed, you and I are very good friends. I've got to stop you right there. I've had in-depth conversations with people in the White House before, during, and after who are still trying to figure out what happened that night. I just over the past, I think I said on the air, Jeff Zients said that he still will go out and his friends will be saying, why didn't you tell us? You think we knew that was going to happen? There's still people that are trying to figure out, and I said this to Susan Page a couple weeks ago, what exactly happened that night? Because anybody that's telling you that is a reflection of how Joe Biden was operating inside of the White House regularly, that's something radically different than people that worked closest with him and people that I know that were around him for large parts of the day were saying.
Wow. Imagine throwing away what little credibility you have left. Because let's be real, okay? These people have no credibility whatsoever, okay? Even with their own team. They have no credibility with the left. Imagine throwing the rest of it away, doubling and tripling down on this idea. Well, we didn't know. We didn't see that. We didn't see that Joe Biden was mentally declining. Even as the media admits, hey, we were wrong, that we lied about it. That people inside the White House, his aides, staffers, we're saying, no, this dude, he can't stay awake after 4 p.m. He's done, right? They were all admitting it. They were all saying it behind closed doors. This guy right here is telling Joe Scarborough, yeah, foreign leaders that I talked to, they were like, yo, Biden's done. He's cooked. Joe Scarborough, right? That's not what they told me. Well, they're lying to you, buddy. They're lying to you. Your judgment is bad and you got bad sources. So again, tell me, why is it that anybody should listen to this guy? Wow, this is incredible. This is an incredible segment.
Ed.
Yeah, Joe, I'm not actually making stuff up here. I talk to people who know Biden as well, and I can assure you, I had many conversations over the previous couple of years about his declining energy, his declining memory, his increasingly short daily schedule to accommodate his declining memory and energy. So, I'm not putting this out of thin air. As I mentioned,
we're not saying
actually, Ed, let me interrupt again. We're gonna keep you here and continue this conversation after a quick break, because I think one of the answers is that two things can be true at the same time. But let's take a quick break and we'll be back at the time.
No, that's not how this works, right? That's not how this works at all, okay? You're either lying about it or you have bad judgment. Now, I guess it could be a little bit of both, but do not sit here and try to tell me that the whole world knew, everybody knew about Biden's mental decline except Joe Scarborough and his sources, the people that he talked to. Wow. Again, this is what happens when you just don't want to admit that you're wrong. You have a massive ego and you can't humble yourself enough to just, again, tell the truth, right? Tell the truth. Because again, what Joe Scarborough is saying suggests that he is less credible than the average person on the street. You go talk to the average person on the street about politics and Joe Biden, they know much more than Joe Scarborough. They have a better ability to judge than he does. So why you get paid millions of dollars and why are you hosting a morning show on MSNBC? Why? But hey, the whole network is declining. The viewership has fell off a cliff. So I guess this is what he deserves, right? I guess that explains. I think people have realized after the election that, these people are not worth listening to at all. I'm better off watching anybody else, literally anybody else except these people, if I want to get quality analysis on the current political landscape. Because again, this guy cannot admit that either you lied or, again, you have bad judgment. Both are pretty bad. You better off coming out and just telling the truth and saying, yeah, we lied, right? I lied. But no, can't do it. You have to double and triple down on the nonsense. And then these same people will boohoo, whine, and cry about the liberal media losing credibility. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.